I'm going to show you how to do this problem out of your math book. It's page 50. It says, you are designing a rectangular pet pen for your new baby puppy. You have 30 feet of fence barrier. You decide that you would like the length to be 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. So the first part wants you to draw and label a diagram to represent the pet pen. Write expressions to represent the width and the length of the pet pen. So I know it's a rectangle, so I'm going to try to draw a rectangle here. And I'm going to label it. I have to label the length and the width. And I obviously don't know the length or the width. I just know that the length needs to be 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. So I'm just going to call the width W, okay? So W is going to represent the width of the pet pen. Okay? And then when I'm labeling the length, the only information I know is that the length has to be 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. So I have the width, and it's got to be 6 1/3 feet longer. Okay? Notice how I use the same variable right there. I didn't go, oh, let me label the length L. Because later on, when we go to solve to find the dimensions of this, you can't really do that with two unlike variables. Okay? So we know that the width is just W, and then the length is going to be 6 1/3 feet longer than that width. Okay? So if that has that length, then this down here also does. So I'm going to label that. W is the width of the pen, and then W plus 6 1/3 is going to be the length of the pen. Okay, now our next step, they want us to find the dimensions of the pet pen. So I have it labeled right here, and the only other information that they give us is that we've only got 30 feet of fence barrier. That means we only have 30 feet worth of material to create this barrier for this pet puppy. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up an equation for that. So I know that this length right here, represented by W, plus this length right here, represented by W plus 6 1/3, plus this length right here, represented by W, plus this length right here, represented by W plus 6 1/3, I only have 30 feet of it, okay? So when I add them all together, this plus this plus this plus this, it's got to equal 30 feet, okay? And let's go ahead and just double check and make sure everything's in units of feet. So feet, feet, all right, so I should have done that first actually. So everything's in the units of feet. Now I've created this equation, and now the next step is to combine like terms. You know, you got to simplify it on the same side of the equal sign. So W plus W plus W plus W, that's 4 W's. Plus 6 1/3 plus 6 1/3. So they have common denominators already. So 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. And then 6 plus 6 is 12. So I have 12 2/3, and that's going to equal 30. Okay? So now that we have just a variable on one side of that equal sign, we are able to build this. So we start with W. Then, oh, that's an arrow. Then we multiplied it by 4. And then we added 12 2/3. So the inverse operation of adding 12 2/3 is subtracting 12 2/3. So that's what we're going to do to both sides of that equal sign. Twelve 2/3 subtract 12 2/3 is 0. 30 minus 12 2/3, gosh, I don't know. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and make this a 29 and then make 3/3. So I'm going to make it 29 3/3, which 29 plus 3/3 is 30, which makes it the same equation, or the same exact value. So 3/3 minus 2/3 is 1/3. 29 minus 12 is 17. So 30 minus 12 2/3 is 17 1/3. Okay, bring down your equal sign and bring down your 4W. Okay? All right, now that you've simplified it, go on back up. The inverse operation of timesing by 4 is to divide by 4. So that's what we're going to do to both sides. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times W is 1W, or W. And then I have 17 1/3 divided by 4, and that looks a little bit messed up right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of create more space up here and really display that. So it's 17 1/3 divided by 4. Okay, so I wrote it like that, like you've probably seen before. And you've probably heard of that statement called keep, change, flip when you're dividing. However, I can't really do that with a mixed number. That makes it more complex for me. So I'm going to turn that mixed number into an improper fraction. And to do that, I would need to go 3 times 17 plus 1. 3 times 17 is 51, plus 1 is 52. Keep that same denominator. And divide it by 4, okay? Now I can do the keep, change, flip much easier. So keep it, change it to multiplication, and flip it. So this was really 4/1, I guess. And then so flip that to 1/4. Okay, so 53 times 1 is 53. 3 times 4 is 12. And let me go ahead and try and simplify that further. Let's go ahead and divide by, wait, that's, what did I do here? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. That's 52. That's 52. Whoa, okay. So I don't know why I changed it. So keep it, change it, flip it. Okay, so 52 times 1 is 52. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2 to simplify this. 52 divided by 2 is 26. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I can simplify that even more if I wanted to. Divide by 2, and that's 13 thirds. Okay, and another way that I could write that is also by a mixed number, so that would be 4 1/3. So any one of those is totally acceptable. I don't really care, okay? I just like it when you simplify it all the way. All right, so 17 1/3 divided by 4 is that, or that. Any one of those work. So I'm just gonna go with 4 1/3. Okay, so the width of that dog pen is 4 1/3 feet. Okay, we're not done because they want the dimensions, and with dimensions they want width and length. So I'm gonna go travel on back up here. So the width is 4 1/3. So the length would be 4 1/3 plus 6 1/3 to get that length. So I'd give myself room, 4 1/3 plus 6 1/3. Look, common denominators already, so 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. 4 plus 6 is 10. Okay, so the length of the dog pen is 10 2/3, because that's what we get. Okay, back down here, the length is 10 2/3. Oops, I guess I could have circled or gotten all that. Okay, so that's your answers. Now, you should know that when I label it back up here, this right up here, this whole length is, what did I say, 10 2/3. This length right here is 10 2/3. And this width right here is 4 1/3. And this right here is 4 1/3. So when I add all these together, it needs to equal 30. So I'm just going to double check that. 10 2/3 plus 4 1/3 plus 10 2/3 plus 4 1/3. All these common denominators. So I have 2/3 plus 1/3, that's 3/3. That's one whole. And then I have right here 2/3 plus 1/3, that's another whole. So from these fractions, I have 2 whole. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to kind of, I don't know, remember that. That equals 2. Positive 2. So now 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 plus 10 more is 24. 24 plus 4 is 26. Wait, just kidding. 24 plus 4 is 28. 28 plus 2 is 30. And remember, we only had 30 feet of fencing, so these dimensions are correct. Okay, bye.